Listen carefully as you read along. This story will help you practice your listening and reading skills in English.
Pepe Mujica, the gorilla who planted flowers in the palace. Chapter 1. Bullets and Hiding. In the 1960s, Uruguay was a country full of inequality and repression. Around the world, people were fighting for civil rights, independence, and social justice. In Uruguay, a new urban guerrilla group was born, the Tupamaros. A young José Mujica, raised in a humble home, became one of its most active members. Pepe didn't take up weapons for ambition, but for his beliefs. He thought that democracy in Uruguay had failed to give a good life to the poor. Inspired by the Cuban Revolution and other social movements, he helped rob banks, gave stolen food to poor neighborhoods, and fought against the police. It wasn't violence just for violence, it was a political act. In one of these actions, he was shot. He survived, but the wounds stayed in his body and mind. He was arrested many times, but he also escaped. The most famous escape was in 1971, when he and more than 100 prisoners got out of Punta Carretas prison through a tunnel under the jail. It made his legend grow. But in 1972, he was captured again. This time, there would be no escape. A dark period began. Chapter 2. 13 Years in the Dark. During the military dictatorship, 1973 to 1985, Mujica was called a hostage of the regime. Together with other Tupamaro leaders, he was kept in very bad conditions. He spent years without sunlight, often without speaking to anyone. He lived in a dry well at the back of a military base. Sometimes he talked to frogs and ants to stay sane. In those extreme conditions, he developed great mental strength. Even with physical and mental torture, he didn't break. He learned to meditate, to think deeply, and to understand both his pain and the pain of others. He left anger behind and chose compassion. When he was freed in 1985, he was no longer a young fighter, but a man changed by suffering. He had learned that lasting change doesn't come through violence, but through dialogue and working together. Chapter 3. Politics as a Tool for Change. Once free, Mujica didn't quit. He and other former Tupamaros founded the Movement of Popular Participation, MPP, part of the Broad Front, a left-wing coalition of workers, students, intellectuals, and activists. In 1994, he became a congressman. Later, he was elected senator. In 2005, he was named Minister of Livestock, Agriculture, and Fisheries. His style was simple and direct. He didn't wear a suit. He didn't speak like a normal politician. He said what he thought. Some laughed at his appearance or how he spoke, but people listened to him because he spoke from the heart. He lived on his small farm in Rincón del Cerro, a modest house with no luxuries. He drove an old blue Beetle and worked the land with his wife, Lucia Topolansky, also a former guerrilla and politician. His life was very different from the usual image of power, and that made him real. Chapter 4. The President Who Didn't Change. In 2009, he was elected president of Uruguay. But he didn't change his lifestyle. He refused to live in the presidential palace and stayed on his farm. He gave away 90% of his salary to social organizations. He said, "People who live with little are more free. They are not slaves to consumption." During his time as president, Uruguay passed important laws: legal abortion, same-sex marriage, and the legalization of marijuana. It was the first country in the world to regulate cannabis with state control. Mujica didn't try to please everyone. He governed by doing what he believed was right. At the UN, he gave a powerful speech about climate change and consumerism. He said that humanity was destroying the planet just to live a life of appearances. His words were shared all over the world. Many people who had never heard of Uruguay learned about it because of him. Chapter 5. The Legacy of the Wise Rebel. He left office in 2015, but stayed in politics as a senator. He didn't get rich. He didn't seek power. He kept talking in schools, universities, and international forums. He inspired young people, spoke against corruption, and defended ethics in politics. In 2020, he left Parliament for health reasons. Still, people kept listening to his voice. In 2024, he was diagnosed with esophageal cancer. He died in 2025, surrounded by his people, without luxury or big ceremonies, just as he wanted. But his legacy didn't die. Mujica showed that it's possible to be a leader without becoming rich, to fight without hate, and to change the world while staying human. Lessons from Pepe Mujica. Never abandon your ideals, even in the hardest times. Living simply and honestly is a kind of freedom. Words have the power to inspire and change. Being coherent is a political virtue. Say what you think and live according to it.
Subscribe to Fluente Curiosity. Don't forget to hit the bell for notifications, like the video if you found it helpful, and share it with someone curious.